people resist change, right? In some sense, and they're not necessarily everybody would upskill as
Correct.
quickly and as effectively.
If you want to convince top leadership, you have to do a small experiments and show it to them. Okay, this is what we have done, right? And it's working, right?
Sure.
Then only they'll give you a let's do at a larger scale. This is one digital platform which we are building, and second is your physical ecosystem which we own.
Sure.
Right? So connecting these two systems
Can unlock a lot of value.
absolutely can add a next level of value to the consumer life cycle.
It's a mammoth project, but
Absolutely.
you have the guts and the money to kind of take it on, right?
User engagement and retention is a crucial but least understood aspect of a growing a successful business. We are here to change that. Hi, this is Ankur. Join me as I dive into conversation with the best and brightest minds in user engagement to help you navigate the why, what, and how of this subject.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to yet another episode of the State of Retention Marketing. This is your host Ankur, and today I have with me Gaurav Tyagi. Gaurav has had a 15-odd-year experience across multiple aspects of digital businesses. He's done a lot of work in CRM analytics and loyalty programs, including places like Yatra, places like Indigo Airlines, places like Group M on the agency side of the equation. And now he's actually playing a fairly interesting role as part of the Adani Digital Labs. And I'd love to have Gaurav himself talk about his own journey.
So journey started in 2007-8 when I entered into this digital space. India had 40 million internet user. Right now we are sitting at 700 million internet user. So journey has been great. Worked with Yatra from a travel perspective. Did a lot of performance growth and touched upon the app growth market there, because 2013 is the year when actually Android became the center stage talking point. Post that I worked with Group M agency side just to get the flavor of how things work on the other side. Journey was very good, handled very key accounts there. Post that I also joined Indigo, and I was leading the digital marketing for Indigo. Close to 300 million flyers data, 4 to 5 million active flyers in a year. So that's the kind of scale we were operating at. After that, we got this opportunity with Adani Group, a big conglomerate in India, close to 400 million users, directly, indirectly, across our 6 consumer-facing businesses like Wilmar, your electricity, gas, realty, and all those things.
Sure.
Main objective is to gauge them and create one platform so that they can do transactions and interact with us. So that's the overall objective of building this Adani Digital Labs. And why labs? Because 20% of our time goes to doing experiments and testing. So that's the reason of putting labs after Adani Digital. And recently we launched one product which is Adani One. So that's a journey.
Very interesting.
15 years so far.
So I will come to Adani and the whole play out within that, but within the Indigo part of the journey, where you spoke about a fairly large volume of passengers and that number has also been growing, what was the maturity of customer engagement practices in there? Because while of course you have a dominant market share, it's still a competitive industry, and your service delivery will win brownie points and win customer market share, but there's always going to be room to do more.
Correct.
Right. So what was the play there in terms of customer engagement? So
from if I have to rate Indigo on customer engagement and maturity of the data, I would rate 7.5. Pretty much mature system they have, personalized journey they have. From a customer relation and customer support perspective, the moment you reach the airport, suddenly you'll get the SMS to share your feedback.
Sure.
And this is not only in English. If you're traveling to, let's say, Darbhanga or any tier 2, tier 3 town, you'll get your message in that respective language. So that is the kind of personalization they did, and still they are doing it.
Sure.
It's not reached to 100%.
So I would love to understand within your part of the journey on that scale of 7, at what point did you enter? What was already in place when you entered? What are the blocks that you built from there to kind of improve the score to 7? And then, what were the missing pieces which you think will take it to 10? So just dissect this whole thing down a little bit for us.
I think when we entered Indigo, systems were not talking to each other,
Sure.
right? From a customer perspective, customer service team was working in silos. They were managing their own piece of messaging and all those.
Whatever system they were using were also in their own silo.
In the silos.
So if I get a complaint, I deal with it, but the system stays
Correct.
within this. Okay.
Right? They were not aware that how that person is behaving on website or different touch points.
So the digital team would be the one running the website part of it. I'm
Website
assuming
part
there's
of it.
also this entire aggregator-driven business part
Absolutely.
of things.
So that's a different business because that's a
different business.
distribution channel. That was a different.
But the
distribution
customer is
channel.
still your customer, and you'll still have his coordinates, and you'll
Absolutely.
still want to maintain that
Absolutely.
data, right?
Absolutely. So people who were booking via OTAs that time, right? They had to come to Indigo website
check in.
or any to check in.
Correct.
That was the mandatory
Yeah.
step, and that's where we start interacting with our consumers across different touch points.
But you still anyway would communicate with the guy, right? The ticket would still get, the tickets get delivered by the OTAs,
Yeah.
but then subsequently the contact details come to Indigo once they're only at the check-in, or does it come before that?
Before that.
Before
that. So this is how you can build the entire journey.
So you have a
around the
digital team, and then you have the distribution business.
distribution business and your customer relation team.
So what does the customer relation team
So
do?
customer relation team is to if there is any delay in the flight, right?
Sure.
So obviously they used to interact with the customer. They used to send those messages that their flight is
The
delayed.
4 different kind of people involved in the game, and now they have their own systems, their own processes,
Yeah.
their own teams, and their own mandates and their
Correct.
own KPIs.
Yeah.
But the customer is still the same, probably.
Still
We will
the
end up
same.
interacting
Yeah.
with multiple touch points. So then, from a data integration, is what
Yeah.
you're saying was your first step. That okay,
Correct.
these systems have to talk to each other.
Talk to each other.
Okay.
So this is what we implemented that time, and we reached to the level that people started getting personalized messages in their own languages. We built a centralized data systems, which is like a CDP, customer
Sure.
data platform.
And this is now talking to all the systems. All the data comes into the same place.
Absolutely. This is what we did.
Sure. How do you centralize the thought process? For example,
Yeah.
you mentioned about the high LTV customers.
Correct.
Now, customer success,
Yeah.
no, customer
Yeah.
support.
Support,
We
you
need
can
to
call it
kind of
customer support.
Improve the TATs on their tickets for high value customers.
Your NPS improvement, so when you divide the what all KPIs, taken care by which team. So let's say marketing or the digital or the business, whatever you call it, right? So their main job is to increase revenue from
in
the
your case,
existing
digital is the
customers.
online platform. Whoever
Online
runs the
platform.
Indigo website,
Absolutely.
whatever traffic comes there, is your
Correct.
marketing / digital /
Absolutely. Their main objective is to increase revenue, right?
from website.
From website and our direct channels, website, app, or any other
Direct
platform,
channels.
right? From a customer relation perspective, their main objective is to how do we increase the NPS score,
NPS.
right?
And this is usually reactive because people will complain and you will want
Absolutely.
to come back to
Right,
it.
reactive.
And your customer relations was more proactive in terms of informing people about
Proactive.
things.
So from reactive
But this is
approach-
operational in
this
nature,
is
not
operational.
promotional in nature.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
from reactive approach to proactive approach is what change the entire game, right? If you are reaching out to a customer who is a high value customer and regular booking on your platform and giving you good ratings, if that person is writing on social media, that customer relation person should know that what is happening in his life. So this is the kind of integration was required that time.
And
So
this is
somehow
obviously,
we- yeah.
I mean, the kind of tools you need to choose also need to make sure that they
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
able to interplay the
Correct.
information. And from a people training perspective, also this would need some degree of upskilling, maturing / new people to be brought in the system,
Yeah.
right? So what was that journey like? And you spent about what, 2 odd years?
Close to 3 years,
Yeah.
like more than 2.5 years there in Indigo. When it comes to training, it's not only that one department is doing individual trainings related to customer, because customer is owned by all the team members, right? It's not about different departments are doing different things, right?
Sure.
So we also did few training sessions with the customer relations team or the customer support team. It's also important to engage with business team who are managing distribution channel. Why it is important to have a centralized customer
Sure.
communication piece. So from a training perspective and awareness perspective, it was required to come
Across the
on
board, just sensitizing everyone that,
sensitizing everyone that why customer is important, how data we can utilize, and so whatever we foundation we set up there that time. Now things are, what I have heard,
To
things are
certain-
moving in right direction.
Would this be supported with some sort of a top-down mandate to a certain extent as well? Because it's almost imperative, but
Yeah.
for people to then rally together can
Correct.
sometimes happen by intrinsic motivation, sometimes
Absolutely.
happen by external pressure that this is a mandate and we have
Right.
to do it and there's no other
See,
way.
thanks to COVID, I think it came organically that this is what we have to do.
Unification need or digitization need? I mean, it's together, but
See,
still.
digitization
So
lead to
COVID kind of
unification.
pushed.
Absolutely. So COVID somehow played a very key role in understanding the things that digitization is important, how important data is, right? So things are pretty much sorted now there.
What was the people side of the question to be dealt with here? You said, of course, you had to rally between all these people to convince them that this is important, this is why it's going to help. But is there a way you think you could have accelerated that or done differently, or what you did was effective, what you did was not effective?
See, if you want to convince top leadership, you have to do a small experiments and show it to them. Okay, this is what we have done, right? And it's working, right?
Sure.
Then only they'll give you a, ठीक है, let's do at a larger scale. This is what we have done in Indigo. I'll give you an example. When I joined Indigo, I think the organic traffic on their platform was close to, monthly I'm talking about, 2.5, 3 million is what they were getting on their platform. We started doing, how do we increase organic traffic on this platform, right? We created a lot of content, keeping consumer in mind, right? We did a lot of changes on our platform, app, website or AMP site or whatever be the things, right? As we speak, Indigo is getting close to 10 million organic visitor on their platform.
5x, and this is all content driven by and large.
It's all content driven.
And you did some amount of content work, it kind of gave you the incremental delta, then obviously you got more resources to deploy, scale further from there.
So you have to do small experiments, you have to prove yourself, and then obviously...
But my challenge with that, Gaurav, tends to be that, for things like content, there is room to kind of create it in buckets. But you think like data unification, I mean, it's a large topic. I don't know if you can break it down in some fashion to make it...
So again, you have to do small tests. Just give you an example. Let's say we are opening new flight from, Delhi to, again, Darbhanga. Can we do some kind of testing where we can do language test? Instead of sending English message, can we send them a Hindi message? And let's see what is the kind of engagement rate we are getting. So these are the small engagements you have to do. You have to prove yourself.
The data infra has to be in place to begin with.
Absolutely.
But how do you get that part crossover? Because in my impression, a lot of places where digital transformation is still underway, the struggle ends up being that the underlying data infrastructure coming together itself is the one big 3-year project for a lot of them. And to get that buy-in from the various stakeholders that this 3-year project has to be done, or it could actually be broken down into several 3-month projects, that itself becomes a struggle.
Right. So from a data unification perspective, that awareness was there.
But in Indigo's case, this was at least understood.
At least people were aware, right, that data unification is required. We have to collect data. This is what they know, right, that we have to do something. But how to use that data from a personalization perspective,
that's where
from a communication perspective, that was the next level.
Sure.
And to prove that point, you have to do small tests.
Fair. So with the underlying infra, it's comes together in the room to play, I mean, the playground becomes available, the tools become available.
Correct.
And in that sense, you mentioned the term around lifetime value, you talked about language personalization, but there are so many different vectors of play, right? There is a lot of data that you have about people, about their searches as to where they wanted to be. There is several reasons and occasions for travel which become different. It's considered a need-based space in some sense. So you don't, I don't know if you can actually push people to travel by advertising. They'll not travel if they don't need to travel.
Absolutely.
So how does that orchestration work? Because how did you put all the different kind of stories together in terms of customer attributes? How would you act on each of these segments? Because at some point, if segments are too many, it also becomes too fragmented.
Correct.
Right. So, how did this part play out?
So, I think obviously you have to create different personas as per the need state of the consumer. Data parting plays a really key role in, while communicating with the passenger. Just to give an example, for pre-book meal, right? If you're sending that SMS 3 or 4 hours before the departure of a consumer, the propensity of booking that pre-book meal was increased by close to 10 to 15% compared to your sending 24 hours before.
Sure.
Because people may not be in, that space that I have to book a pre-book meal for all those stuff. But if you're sending just before their departure or the moment they are leaving their houses, so the conversion rate or the take rate was much higher compared to 24 hours.
And this is a heuristic or a set of experiments that concluded this for you.
Absolutely.
So Gaurav, for this part of the conversation, I'd love to zoom into this whole big grand vision that has been set up at Adani One. People like you, people like Nitin have been brought in. So there is obviously a lot of top level mandate / comfort and confidence that this is important and this is a priority, right? So that comes with some inherent conviction in these things. So what I would love to have like a peek into is this, let's just say 2025 vision that, okay, this is how the end state for us looks like. It's not the end state, but let's just say 2025 state looks like. I'm sure you'll do a lot more beyond that as well. But what does that vision look like?
I'll not go into 25, but I'll give you a background that how it was started from what was the mandate from management or the chairman, sir.
Sure.
Objective is to how do we connect with our 400 million consumer.
Sure.
That was the brief.
Simple mandate.
Simple mandate. That was the brief, because we have various touch points like airports. Initially, I mentioned airports, electricity, and all those businesses. So you need one platform where these people can interact, right? And they also come back, because we also in utility business, which is usually once in a month you go to their websites or any other player to pay your bills. So it has to be recurring, right? So that was the simple mandate. That how do we integrate these 400 million consumers so that they always come back and do some kind of business with us. That was the mandate. Then we thought that what business should we pick? Either electricity or gas or airport. Airport is very close affinity with travel business. And in 2019, airport business was also a new setup or the subsidiary within Adani Group. So somehow frequency matched, and we, both the businesses agreed, and we started this journey from a travel domain.
Okay.
Right? So travel is our first touch point, where objective is to, automate, not automate, but give a seamless consumer journey across different touch points.
Sure.
If you see a current, travel ecosystem or the OTA market, right? They'll give you great customer experience within their ecosystem.
Sure.
Right? But imagine a first time traveler, right? Let's say my grandmother is traveling, right? And she's alone, right? You booked a flight via some OTA, right? But nobody is there to support her at the airport kind of ecosystem.
And that's not a service an OTA will ever be able to cover.
They will not be able to, give that service. Not airlines can give that service. Somehow, obviously, wheelchair and all those support. So this is the gap which we are trying to fill via this platform, right? Because this is one digital platform which we are building, and second is your physical ecosystem which we own.
Sure.
Right? So connecting these two systems
can unlock a lot of value.
Absolutely. Can add a next level of value to the consumer life cycle, right?
Got it.
From dreaming phase, we are there. Once you finalize your, ticket booking, finalize your destination and everything, the next step would be either you take your car to the airport. We have car parking there. The second touch point would be you are booking a cab, right?
And all of this is a unified experience in the app.
It will be unified experiences. Next,
that's your end state. So
that's our end state, right? And we'll give a card kind of experience. You can just add those product and you can just check out.
And I don't have to pay separately for each of
Separately
these
for
things,
the
like,
services.
I see how simple. That's
Absolutely. So this is our vision. Obviously, we have just started.
Of course.
So the next touch point was cab. Then you entering the airport. Then you interacting with check-in counters. You are struggling with your baggage. We are also thinking of if you are facing any challenge with your baggage, can you send your baggage directly to your destination where you are traveling?
Sure.
Because we also manage cargo business.
You're in cargo business as well.
Then after the security, SHA area, security hold area will come. Post that your retail business will come, right? So integrating all these services to one platform.
It's quite a mammoth project, but
Absolutely.
you have the guts and the money to kind of take it on, right?
And the best part is, apart from this Adani One ecosystem, there are other businesses who are also working parallelly on digitization.
Sure, that's an evolution of their own journeys.
So that's the best part. So from a vision perspective, this is our vision to at least in travel domain. So once we sort this out, obviously we'll go to next business, let's say electricity. So our vision is to, if people are paying electricity bill in Mumbai and they are traveling from, they have to travel from Mumbai airport only, they don't have any choice. So we are in a monopolistic space. At least I should be able to give them a feel good factor. Since you are my high value customer, Starbucks is on me for your next trip. So this is the kind of,
That should be fun, right? If I'm paying my electricity bills on time, I get my Starbucks at the airport by Adani.
Correct. And that's why we are building centralized reward, loyalty reward program, right?
And this would cover the entire set of
entire ecosystem. If you're, regularly paying your electricity bill, gas bill, and gas, there are two bifurcation. One is CNG, another is PNG. PNG, obviously, very less people, but if you're paying, at the CNG station and you are earning rewards, and those rewards can be redeemed at my platform or any other
You
platform.
control a large enough ecosystem to have earning
Absolutely.
and consuming capacity.
Correct.
So, while the solve sounds amazing and very
Yeah.
visionary, the nuts and bolts get really messy,
Right.
right? Because if you're talking about even the first part of the airport experience itself, there are reservation systems. So you probably
Yeah.
have to consume the GDS and you'll have to book tickets there. Then all these services will have a physical touch, operational aspect of it as
Right.
well, which I'm assuming that you'll be able to solve. But just from a data gathering perspective itself, that okay, this is all the people who've booked and this is all the people that have, let's say, due to fly today. And then the different retail operators that are there at
Right.
the airport, they'll have their own point of sale
Right.
systems, they'll have their own pricing structures,
Right.
they'll have their own catalogs. So what's the sequence of things and how does it come together in that sense?
I think that's a very good question. We are also struggling with this
Okay.
challenge. That's why we picked, flight booking first, because this is what we understood, and we are very, pro in that zone. So that's why first step is to, get the user on board via, giving one service, which is a flight booking,
Okay.
right? Once we have enough data,
But it sounds a little counterintuitive to me
Right.
simply because flight booking is a actually very competitive industry, right, overall.
100%, absolutely. So that's why.
But
We
if if that's all there is, I mean, as a starting point for the
Right.
first 6 months, probably that'll be a big
Correct.
part of your
Yeah.
offering. I'm curious, why would I choose an Adani app to book a flight vis-a-vis a Make My Trip where I'm anyway used to it?
Absolutely. Because as you rightly mentioned, it's a very competitive market, but we are not considering ourselves as a OTA, right?
Sure.
To start
It's
with,
an entry point.
It's an entry point for us. But main aim is to, let's say if you are traveling, if you booked a flight from Mumbai international, so you can, pre-book your duty-free item. Right.
So what you're saying
Other
is
services you can
my
also,
value proposition
Absolutely.
is not about my ticket.
Correct.
The value proposition is everything else that I can do while I'm booking my
while
ticket.
you're booking your travel journey. So this is what we are offering.
Sure.
And this is we want to offer and mature our ecosystem.
So
We
the
don't want to
duty-free
compete
catalog-
with any OTA.
The duty-free catalog comes on board relatively
board.
easily. That's
Correct.
going to be a part of the play, and I'll be able to
Correct.
book and pick
Right.
stuff there.
Apart from duty free, we are also coming up with cab service. What is the need state or the problem statement we are trying to solve at the airport for the consumer? Lot of cancellations happened at the airport, right? People are literally struggling with cab bookings and all those things, right?
Sure.
Especially female travelers who are coming late in the night, 11 or maybe 12 midnight. So that's the kind of need state we are trying to solve. If you're booking via this platform on our airports, zero cancellation is what we are guaranteeing, because we have tie-up
This
with
is a supply that you will orchestrate, or how does it come together?
orchestration. So we have different suppliers we are integrating with our platform, and accordingly we have agreement signed with them. You cannot cancel those bookings, though on a commercial side they are on a higher side,
Sure.
but at least it'll give you a
Anyways,
peace
Uber, Ola
of
not being
mind that
cheaper
my
lately.
yeah.
The kind of surges that are operating
Correct.
prices anyway is not a question in the airport.
Absolutely.
But the certainty that
least-
okay, I'm going to get one and I'm going to get a
100%
reliable
you'll
one.
get the cab if you're booking at Mumbai airport. Obviously, there are certain glitches in the system right
Sure,
now.
it'll stabilize,
but it will
expectation
stabilize
is-
in next 3, 4, 5, 6 months once we have much higher supply from different vendors.
You will have to also optimize demand supply so that will keep
Absolutely.
changing.
Correct,
You can't have
correct.
committed supply without enough demand because
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Sure. So
So these are the different services. Another is Pranam, which is our
Meet and greet.
meet and greet service started from Mumbai. We also integrated across 7 airports.
so this is where somebody elderly might be traveling alone, or maybe whatever family is traveling
Depending
alone.
elderly or a lot of celebrities take this service.
They want to
in
get
Mumbai.
escorted through the entire experience.
Yeah, correct.
But what will this do in terms of the user experience through the airport? Skip the queue everywhere sorts.
Not skip the queue, because that is again comes under
Structure.
regulatory business. So that thing is little difficult because that area comes under CISF.
Sure.
So, but at least you'll get one attendant who will take you through to entire process till boarding gate. They'll arrange your bags and everything. So that can be taken care of. But obviously you cannot skip or create a separate line for
Not yet at
these.
least. But I would imagine this makes sense to kind of create something between
Yeah.
economy and business. Now, you just
Correct. So
charge
we
it.
are in talks with authorities if we can get separate line for those people who are using our platform. But still in talks. Let's see how it goes.
Sure.
in future.
I mean, business class can get one technically.
Correct. Yeah.
There is no reason why this can't.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to now know that with all of this coming together, what's already in place with respect to your cross-sell, upsell / engagement motions?
So right now we are at very basic level. Still we are able to cross-sell, upsell only flight-related businesses. International booking number is very less, but somehow we are able to obviously cross-sell different duty-free products. If you are traveling from other airports minus Mumbai, because we also have Lucknow, Jaipur, Trivandrum, and your Mangaluru.
Sure.
And all the consumer behavior across these airports is totally different.
Very
trust
different.
me, right? So somehow we are able to do that right now, depending on that what
But
kind
it's
of flight
honestly
they are.
because your entry point into the system right now is still ticket booking.
Still ticket booking, right?
But aren't you expecting to like put QR codes all over the airport? Ki now install the app, install the app, install the app, and do whatever.
So we are planning to go live in next maybe 10-15 days.
Oh, is it?
To start with, Ahmedabad will be the first touch point, just to capture the how people are interacting with our ecosystem. So I think next 7-10 days will go live in Ahmedabad. Similarly, we'll go live with
So
the
the motivation of the guy at the airport to install the app would be some of those duty-free components. And
Duty-free
things like that.
products, even your F&B, if you'll get some kind of offers if you scan
Sure.
and install this app. So these
Are you
kind
going
of
to be funding those offers?
Sorry.
Are you going to be funding those offers or the F&B operators will?
So for I think duty free, it will be operator funded offers, because obviously we are giving them a larger
Sure.
space, business footfall, whatever you call it. And somehow initially you have to take those calls where you have to shell out some money to get the consumer,
Which is a customer
which is a
acquisition cost
customer
most people
acquisition
consider.
cost. But in a nutshell, all the brands, all the ecosystem is working towards empowering user.
Sure.
In the end, user should be empowered, so that that person should come back to your ecosystem and again do some kind of transaction if that person is seeing a value add.
But segmentation, because what will probably happen is Ahmedabad Airport would have 100 odd brands and whatever number of F&B outlets. And you can't send everybody's messages to everybody.
Absolutely, yeah.
So to do an intelligent job at the segmentation itself can be extremely powerful, because if it's a relevant message, the chances of getting a response are much, much higher compared to a bunch of blast messages, which will
spray
then
and
start to get
pray
ignored.
doesn't work in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was trying to understand now that in terms of putting that framework together, how do you segment and who gets what? How do you solve for this at the moment?
So right now, our still these segmentation are manual. I'll give you an example of Trivandrum specifically, because Trivandrum international departures are much higher than your domestic departures, right?
Sure. And that's a lot of Middle East travel, I would imagine.
Not a lot of, maximum is Middle East, right? And so what kind of personalization we are doing? Again, that's a very basic level.
Sure.
That's a manual right now.
It's super early days in your journey.
Very early, right?
They're remotely judgmental about why is it not more.
So let's say people who are, departing from Trivandrum Airport. So depending on their flight choices, airline choices, right now we are customizing products as per our understanding. Let's say if somebody is taking, because segment is very less, let's say 10 people are booking Emirates,
Sure.
20 people are booking, let's say XYZ or Indigo. So segmentation is very less.
But this is still dependent on your own OTA play. But the
Absolutely.
moment you open it up at the airport, that would suddenly change a lot.
Suddenly change. So these are the kind of segmentation we are doing. So let's say if somebody is taking a Emirates, so we are offering that guy a different product from a duty-free perspective. While traveling from Trivandrum, these are the things which you can explore.
And since you know your playbook from before, what you'll probably do is you'll automate this, that Emirates bookers get this done.
Right.
And there are like 20 such airline choices, basis airline choices. This is what happens. That becomes an automated set of campaigns that will go every day to whoever is doing this.
Right. Because from a data perspective, I know we have all the data from a duty-free perspective, right? So how many people
because
are
all the retail transactions are
retail
they don't have
transactions.
phone numbers, do they?
They don't have phone numbers because it's not mandatory. But
Correct.
from a passport scan, at least you will get some kind of directional data that people of which ethnicity, which country
like
are
that.
traveling from.
But you also have the boarding card as well. So the shopping pattern
Absolutely.
of
We
if
can
Emirates
match.
tickets do this or
Yes.
not.
So
You're
we
doing
can-
this?
Yeah, so it's manual right now.
Sure.
So we have taken all the data dump from the duty-free team, and we analyzed that what is the user behavior. So one interesting user behavior came out was people who are flying from Mumbai to Europe. Maximum people are buying tobacco.
Yeah, because it's really expensive in
because
Europe.
it's really expensive there.
Sure.
So that's a need state or the consumer insight we get from that data. Still, it's in very nascent stage. It's all manual, but somehow we are trying to build how do we automate this data so that
Because
this
the
can be
moment you
integrated.
end up doing a phone number as a part of the
Absolutely.
duty-free
Then
play,
you
it
start
just suddenly
linking.
stitches everything.
Correct. Obviously, past data,
Like
it's
grand
very
vision, such tactical issues. That's
Yeah.
a reality. Yeah, so what would be very interesting is to now understand that the moment you went beyond the OTA entry point and you entered this whole open world of people getting involved with your
Right.
application interface, the world of possibilities changes.
Absolutely.
And the kind of scale suddenly changes because OTA was still
Correct.
part of the play, but this becomes
Absolutely.
much more meaningful. So from that perspective, I would love to understand what is the kind of data structures you're already gathering, and what is the user experience going to look like, and what are the components that will orchestrate that user experience. So if you could just shed some light there.
I think right now still we are dependent on our flight booking data.
Sure.
From a duty-free perspective, though we have a data, but we don't have
Transaction
single
history.
primary key to connect with stitch
But
the
that's
entire
it's not
consumer
giving you the
behavior.
entry point, but the
Right.
moment your app launches,
Correct.
you'll start collecting a lot of data.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm curious to understand what all are you expecting to collect, how will it get structured, stitched together, and then what would you action on it for the user experience?
So from a first touch point, apart from your flight booking, will be your duty free. How people are transacting, what is the kind of amount they are transacting, how many people are pre-booking their products, domestic, international. So these are the signals or these
you
are
have
the
the
kind
entire
of
duty-free catalog online, and with that catalog, you're able to do all the browsing behavior. This is whatever.
Yeah.
Classic
So
e-commerce
let's say if you're
data collection.
classic e-commerce, transaction or the user experience you'll see. So let's say if you're searching for any wine and
Yeah.
you are there in Dubai, right? You're comparing. We were discussing that most
Sure.
of the people compare prices.
Yeah.
That I am in Dubai. What is the price in
Correct.
Mumbai duty free? So this is the kind of experience we are giving. The only thing is you'll get pre-book option there, and you'll get obviously some kind of discounting.
But tell me something now, if you're doing it for your duty free, pretty much every other airport also has a duty free,
Yeah.
and they would love to expose their catalog to your customers because you're anyway having a fairly large bunch of them. Is that a direction of thought?
Actually, we don't want to limit ourselves to our airports only.
Absolutely.
Maybe 2, 3. Once we stabilize all
Obviously,
these
there
kind
is
of
a
touch
journey to be
points,
had.
we'll start evaluating that it should be a one-stop shop for airport perspective. It can be an India airport first app.
Yeah, so this then goes beyond the Adani airport
Beyond the
experience as
Adani
well.
managed airport ecosystem, absolutely.
Very interesting and very ambitious plans, Gaurav.
And then
Makes
we'll move
sense.
to next
I
set
mean,
of
it's kind of how a Suljava business operates, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to go
Correct.
irrational in terms of expansion
Yeah.
and wonder what do I do with all
You
these
don't have to
people.
overinflate your things,
True.
which will create problem in future.
But what I'm most excited about is the whole grand vision. And hopefully I will pay my Adani gas bills on time and get some free Starbucks on Adani.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for doing this, Gaurav. Really insightful conversation. I love the way you've been able to stitch together your own journey as well, because having done all of that stuff and somewhat of a new economy background and now bringing it to a conglomerate like this one, I'm sure it's a great battle to fight and a great amount of learning.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Gaurav.
Thank you so much, Ankur.
That's one fascinating conversation we just had with Gaurav from Adani Digital Labs. You got to give them the credit for having a fairly grand vision for somebody having 400 million customers across a variety of businesses, from electricity to gas to airports to I don't know what else. To try and unify this is a giant project, and since they've taken it upon themselves and they have the management mandate to do this, my best wishes are for them. The starting point seems quite exciting, where they're going to unify my passenger experience from the moment I book my tickets to the point I reach the airport. Without saying the word probably, but we practically are talking about a very phygital kind of experienced reality, which is quite fascinating how they're stitching together data from multiple sources and making that outcome into customer experience. So well, I'm personally going to look forward to paying a gas bill in time and getting my Starbucks at the airport because it's all Adani. Thank you so much for tuning in.